Many of the EU's achievements and regulations can only be understood by looking at their long history. Germany is taking the councils and the other events during the German EU Council Presidency as an opportunity to take a look back at the emergence of different policy areas in the European Union. At the same time, they ask, how can the EU develop further in this area? And now, how did the Common Agricultural Policy of the EU come about, and what are the future challenges? These questions are answered by the series Looking Back, Looking Ahead on the occasion of the informal meeting of EU Ministers for Agriculture that happened from August 30th to September 1st in Koblenz. I recently made a video on this meeting too, by the way. Agricultural policy is the oldest common policy of the European Union. The Common Agricultural Policy, or the CAP, which is also being discussed during the German Council Presidency this week and already was discussed at this informal meeting in Koblenz, and it has undergone extensive development since its inception in 1962. At the time, it came into force as an important political and European project against the background of supply bottlenecks, sharply fluctuating food prices, and the Cold War. What were the beginnings of CAP? Already laid down in the Treaty of Rome in 1957, it aimed to boost agricultural production in order to guarantee a supply of food at affordable prices in a Europe that was still marked by war. Further goals were to ensure a sufficient income for all farmers and to stabilize the markets. In the 1960s, several instruments were created for this purpose. The 6 founding states of the European Economic Community, Germany, Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, abolished international and internal tariffs on the most important agricultural products for the members. They levied joint taxes on imports. Exports to the rest of the world were subsidized with government grants and thus kept competitive. In addition, the founding states introduced the system of guaranteed prices, which ensured that farmers would definitely get reliable income for their products and that they were not exposed to the strong price fluctuations of the world market. And the goal was income security for the farming families. This enabled Europe to secure food for its citizens in the 1970s. The prices stabilized, agricultural production and farmers' incomes rose significantly. However, this success also brought unexpected side effects, such as overproduction crises, which coined the terms milk lakes and butter mountains, and an increase in the share of agriculture in the EU budget to 70%. The CAP is reforming milk quotas and direct subsidies. In order to curb overproduction and also to take environmental aspects into account significantly better than before, the EU agriculture ministers passed a series of reforms. In 1984, they introduced quotas, particularly for milk production. The reform of the CAP in 1992 brought a noticeable turnaround. Direct subsidies to farmers gradually replaced the system of guaranteed prices. Farmland was also set aside. More environmental and animal protection was necessary. The modernization of the CAP continued with the Agenda 2000 reform. In future, the CAP should be based on 2 pillars: direct payments to farmers in the first pillar and support for rural development as the second pillar. Since 2003, aid to farmers has been measured according to the size of the farm in hectares. In 2003, the CAP further strengthened environmental and animal welfare. In order to receive the full amount of direct aid, every farmer must meet additional obligations, the so-called cross-compliance rules. Specifically, on the one hand, it is about maintaining areas in good agricultural and ecological condition. For example, guidelines help to reduce soil erosion or to preserve valuable landscape elements. On the other hand, cross-compliance includes basic requirements for operational management, which include, for example, general obligations for animal welfare or food safety. The 2014 reform continued that. Since then, 30% of the direct aid has been granted for environmentally friendly cultivation methods, the so-called greening. But what does the future of CAP look like? As in previous decades, the CAP faces challenges and social expectations today. These include environmental protection and climate change, the generation change on farms and in businesses, international competition, and currently Brexit. The effects of the COVID-19 pandemic also pose major challenges for the agricultural sector. In 2018, the European Commission, as the guardian of the European treaties, therefore developed proposals for the future of the CAP after 2020. And what's the basic idea? European agricultural policy will retain its two tried and tested pillars and will be geared even more towards sustainability and small and medium-sized farms in the future. The new CAP is also intended to motivate young people to take up the farming profession. And the proposals for climate and environmental protection have become more ambitious. For example, the Commission proposes the introduction of ecological regulations in the first pillar with the framework of the green architecture. The German EU Council Presidency is also campaigning for agricultural policy to become even more crisis-proof and at the same time more sustainable in the future, thus ensuring the competitiveness of farmers. To this end, it is striving for political agreement among the member states, a general council approach. In addition, Germany wants to advance the biodiversity strategy and the farm-to-fork strategy from the field to the plate that were presented as part of the European Green Deal. These strategies should make an even better contribution to a fair, healthy and environmentally friendly food system in the future. The aim is to shorten supply chains, reduce the use of fertilizers, develop organic farming and strengthen animal welfare on all farms. The subject of EU-wide animal welfare labeling was also on the agenda at the informal meeting of the EU Agriculture Ministers. And if you're interested in more videos about European or global politics, this button here is to subscribe my channel. If you do so, you will know when I publish another video. If you want to see one right now, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here for you on the end screen. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß!